Yamaha presents the Whitetail Diaries, chronicling hunting adventures of the most plentiful and intelligent big game animal in North America. Join top whitetail hunters nationwide. Embark on the amazing adventure that is hunting the whitetail deer. Well, depending on where you're going out to hunt, there's 1,000,001 ways to strategize your setup. From sitting up in a tripod or box blind to being up close and personal on the ground. And today, well, we're going to take you through the ins and outs of hunting from the ground.
You know, setting on the ground is always been exciting to me. We talk about it all the time around our camp. We show it in our shows. And when you're setting on the ground, whether you're in a pop-up, a brush blind, or just throwing some chairs down behind a bush, in a makeshift blind, it brings an all-new feel and all-new element to any hunting situation for any game. You know, you're out on eye level, your scent's right there with them, so you've got to keep all of those things into mind, and everything is just really enhanced to me when you're sitting on the ground.
Well, there's a lot that goes into picking a spot to build a place for a ground blind, but it's key to know your area and the traffic of the deer. Setting up a good digital scouting camera near areas you feel are going to be productive, well, they can help you determine the traffic flow of the deer. Then, you have to decide to either place a temporary pop-up or build a more permanent setup.
You know, when we build a ground blind and when we do things that are associated with the ground blind, whether we're building a cover around a pop-up blind or we're using natural brush to build one, we want to make it as three-dimensional as possible. And by that, I mean I want things out in front and out behind it and over the top of it as much as we can. I want taller things and shorter things. I want a mix of brush that's going to create shadows. I want to create that illusion of darkness, so to speak, in there. I'm not real big on just going up and throwing a pop-up out there. I think that it just looks unnatural. And anything that looks unnatural, I believe, is going to get you busted. Now, that's not to say that you can't do that and be successful. I've done it and gotten successful before, but generally speaking, in my mind, I want to get as three-dimensional. I want to get some cover. I want to get some breakup. I want things to look as natural as they possibly can when I'm in a ground blind hunting situation.
And when you're finally set up in your ground blind, it's important to be in a place where your movements are covered as much as possible, and that you're staying as still as possible when the eyes are all around you.
When you're sitting on the ground and deer are moving around you, things that you really got to keep into mind are scent control. You know, make sure you've done everything that you possibly can to put yourself in a situation where if the wind changes or if a deer comes from behind you, that you're not going to get busted. Number two, you've got to be subtle in your movements because you're eye level. I mean, you always have to be subtle in your movements when you're deer hunting, but it's even much more of an importance when you're sitting on the ground. Quiet clothing, because the sound of your clothing rustling or you reaching across to pick up your binoculars, everything is just right there, and it's easier for them to pick up. They're going to look at wherever you're sitting at in the ground and try to determine what's going on. And if they do start looking at you, I call it the old 3 bob rule. You know, if you see a deer kind of drop its head down and it's going to throw it back up and do it again, and then that third time, if they ain't caught you, chances are they're going to go back to doing whatever they were doing before. And just freeze, just be still when they start pegging you, and don't make a rash, rushed decision.
When the Whitetail Diaries returns, we'll get out on the ground blind with Wade. The Yamaha Whitetail Diaries is brought to you in part by Yamaha ATVs and side-by-sides, real world tough. Cabela's, it's in your nature. Garmin, the power of simple. And by Smith & Wesson, made in the USA since 1852.
The Yamaha Viking, and introducing the all-new Viking 6. The hardest working, most off-road capable side-by-sides in America. Built for the hardest working people on earth. You.
It's all Joey Goloski, Smith & Wesson Consumer Program Manager and World Champion Shooter.
Joe Zanetti, Smith & Wesson Finishing Specialist and lifelong hunter.
Jim Dalton, Smith & Wesson Master Gunsmith. I shoot competitively, and so does my son.
Our people, our products, our passion. Smith & Wesson.
What if there was a camera that went where you went and shot what you shot? An action camera so easy to use you can concentrate on your hunt, not the hunt for the record button. A camera that let you add dimensions to your video, like speed, altitude, or even your heart rate, just before you let it fly. Life, camera, action. The Verb Elite HD Action Camera from Garmin.
Welcome back to the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries with Wade Middleton. Hunting from the ground is something we do often here on the show because of the excitement of being up close and personal with a mature whitetail buck, and we're going through some of the basics of how to make your next hunt from the ground successful. So far, Wade's covered how scent control, subtle movements, quiet clothing, and no rash decisions can all help you get the whitetail deer of your dreams on the ground.
The other final thing I really try to keep in mind is comfort when I'm hunting in a ground blind situation. If you're uncomfortable, you're going to be moving, you're going to be spooking things, you're going to be making unnatural sounds, and that's just going to cause other animals and whatever you're hunting to be looking towards where that ground blind is, to give them a chance to pick you off, to give them a chance to scent you. And I want them as calm as I possibly can. So to keep them calm, I want to be as comfortable as I possibly can so I'm not moving at the wrong time.
Last year, Wade headed out to the Wendlet Ranch where the Wendlets had a handmade ground blind in a great spot.
You know, when you look at the ground blind we've got built right here, it's made out of 2x4s and some, hog wire and a lot of brush built up around it, and it's one that's going to stand a test of time, unlike some of your cheaper pop-up blinds. It may fall apart after even a couple of weeks out there. So when you build a ground blind out of something like this, you can get longevity out of it, and that's why I really like a scenario like this. You get the open air feel, a great hunting vision where you're going to be able to see a long way. You've got a lot of game work in the area, and it's going to last a little bit longer. Now, we use pop-ups all the time, and I'm not talking down or bad about pop-ups because we probably have 20 of them set up at different places right now. But when I can build a blind out of 2x4s and out of wire and out of natural brush, I know I'm probably going to get more use out of it over a long period of time.
Every time we're out, we'll first sit down, get set up. I want to just kind of check the distances. What's the furthest, what's the closest, where the key trails are. If I know where some certain scrapes are, other things that are in that area, so that I can know the farthest that I'm going to have and the closest that I'm going to have with the Nikon BDC reticle system that I've got on this particular Pro Staff model right here. It's easy for me to know I'm never going to have to go past my crosshairs, or the first circle may come in, and knowing what I've got. And with this TC Venture and the way it's set up right now, I mean, I've got a pile driver as long as I do my job. Now, as a hunter, sometimes we make mistakes, but if you practice and things go your way, more often than not, the equipment's going to do what you need it to do.
When I look at this setup with the sun behind me, the wind kind of quartering across us and into our face, and the deer bedding up ahead of us, I knew we were going to see a lot of deer. There was no doubt. Good food sources in the area, and when we first sat down, it just had the air and the feel of a great time to be there. Nobody had sat in this ground blind for a long time, and they didn't even pay attention to us. Deer would come up and they'd mill around, they'd stop, they'd feed, they'd wander off, they'd chase each other around, they'd posture. I mean, they were just putting on quite a show, and we had seen maybe half a dozen to 10 deer at this point already, crossing around us, when a deer with a right configuration that I had never harvested before stepped out. You know, when you talk about typical deer, probably a 6x6, a straight 12-point is one of the most unique and hardest ones, in my opinion, to find. You know, and then I guess I'd have to go to a 7x7, you know, get up to a 14-point. You know, I don't think I've even seen very many of those. So, you know, when I looked at this deer and I had already, you know, known that it was an old deer, I thought, man, there's a 6x6. That is something that I do not have. I have never shot a straight 12-point. And I mean, that's when the adrenaline always kicks in for me. I can sit there very calm and very cool and very collected and just glass deer all day long. I can do that for hours upon hours. But when I make up my mind that this is the right one and I pick up the rifle and everything, man, that heart will start pounding every time.
Posturing up with that other buck right there. Wow, that's a straight 12-point right there. I've got an 11, straight 11, but that's a straight 12 right there.
When I saw that 6x6 standing out there, to me, there was no question, there was no doubt that I wanted the crosshairs right where they were supposed to be, and I wanted to be posing next to this guy. There ain't no need to look for blood. Look, laying right there, isn't that a deer? That's that TC Venture doing some damage right there. Yeah, let's go get our hands on him. He looked like just a straight mainframe 12-point with a little kicker on the side. And I have never shot just a straight 12 like that. Look at that. That deer is piled up. Holy cow. That Venture did some damage there. Son, we'll lay it right there. Look at that right there, son. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, look at the tines. Real symmetrical. This is an old deer. You can see the wear and tear. This deer is actually way on his way down. You can see bones in there. What a great buck. I mean, flat in there like that. God, what a deer.
Well, congratulations, Wade. When the Whitetail Diaries returns, we'll see if we can draw some bucks even closer.
If you'd like to keep up with the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries crew, see some of the behind-the-scenes action, as well as be eligible to win some of the prizes, such as the gear we use in the field, it's simple. Go to our Facebook page and give us a like, and one lucky person each year will join us in the field for a great hunt.
The Alaskan Series Cooler Packs by Arctic Ice. Specifically designed to keep your food and drinks cold all day long without having to use ice and end up with a soggy lunch. The Alaskan Series by Arctic Ice. Bitterly cold.
Experience Hi-Vis, a brighter sight picture than standard sights, giving you an immediate, more successful shooting performance. Hi-Vis lets you see a dramatic contrast between the target and the barrel for a more intuitive aim that delivers instant results. Our light pipes come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and colors, designed to be seen in a variety of conditions. With our broad line of sights, you'll see your marksmanship dramatically improve, bringing more fun and confidence into every shooting experience. Shoot more accurately. Enjoy the sport. Choose Hi-Vis.
The Arctic Ice Tundra Series, capable of keeping your food frozen all day long. The Tundra Series is a portable, safe, and reusable alternative ideally suited to replace dry ice. Keep your food as frozen as the Tundra with the Tundra Series from Arctic Ice.
You change the game. You make the rules. Introducing the all-new Stealth SS from 10 Point, the most compact crossbow we've ever created. 10 Point, there is no substitute.
After your next successful deer hunt, savor the flavor with a Bradley Smoker. They have a whole list of creative recipes for venison with a wide variety of delicious smoky wood flavors. Find out more about making your meal as memorable as the hunt at BradleySmoker.com. Since 1976, Delta Ag has been an industry leader in plant health and nutrition. With our innovative concept and chemistry, Delta Ag produces healthier crops and improves yields. We formulate biostimulants and micronutrients designed to improve fertilizer efficiency and increase crop response to nutrients. Make your fertilizer go further with reliable products that work. Grow healthier crops from the ground up with versatile low-rate products. Delta Ag, improving plant performance.
When I'm not hunting, I'm thinking about hunting. It's on my mind because it's in my blood. When the hunt calls, my TC Venture points the way. Accurate, reliable, proven. Until there's no more ground to cover and no more stories to tell. When you're a TC Venture hunter, the hunt never ends.
Welcome back to the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries, brought to you in part by Bradley's Smoker, food smoking made easy. Nikon Sport Optics. Arctic Ice, preserve an Arctic refuge in your cooler. Delta Ag Formulations, improving plant performance. Engel Coolers, a legend in reliability. We're hunting from the ground on today's show. The Whitetail Diaries crew loves to build a ground blind from scratch, but they also rely heavily on the mobility of a pop-up ground blind.
You know, when it comes to the big, store-bought pop-ups that are out there, man, we use a lot of those. And I like a really big one because we're generally hiding a cameraman and a hunter in there, so ours are real big. And they also come with really big windows. And I just think that you've got to do something with all those windows. You can't open 14 windows out there and have everything shining through out there. I mean, there's too many ways you're gonna get picked off. So what we like to do is pick the key area that we think the game is gonna come in, and we just give up the back end. We close the back end off. Then a lot of times what we'll do is we'll hang extra tarps over it, we'll put some cover on it, we'll tie brush to it, we'll do lots of things that we possibly can to make it look like a bush. I want those deer, or whatever game species I might be hunting out of a pop-up, to think that's just a big old bush. It's the last day of general season here on this piece of property, so we're going to grab the TC and head back to what we call the honey hole. It's a pop-up and some pretty tight cover. We're going in there, number one, because we know that's probably our best chance to kill a big late season buck. Number two, it's super windy. That's going to be a little bit out of the wind and a place I like to really sit and see what comes in. Our scouting cameras are showing several pretty good late season bucks that are actually not even broke up, surprising for that area. And we've been seeing some big rubs, lots of scrapes there. So we know we're going to see deer. Will we find the right deer? That'll remain to be seen, but we're going to really have to gear up because it's pretty cold, high winds right now. Temps are about 40. They're going to drop into the upper 30s. With the wind chill, that's going to put it down in the 20s, and that's super cold in this part of Texas. So we'll gear up, load up the Viking, and start heading that way. We're going to pull off here, and this is pretty thick country here we're going to be hunting. It's a big bottom up here ahead of us, and we're going to be in that pop-up and kind of limited visibility, but we're trying to get out of this wind that is just blasting through. It's just big northern. Hopefully the deer will feel a little more comfortable moving in there than they are out in that open. One of the biggest mistakes I think people make when it comes to any hunting situation is making a fast, rash, rushed decision. When you do that in any hunting situation, chances are you're either going to make a mistake, you're going to bust that deer, you're going to wound that deer. You're not going to be as prepared as you would be if everything was calm and going slow. When you rush things, and that's with anything in life, in my opinion, bad things generally happen. If you throw that rifle up and take a snapshot without studying the game, and paying attention to what's going on, just so many things can come into play that are going to probably result in a bad outcome. When you're sitting on the ground, a couple things I always really want to pay attention to are where I think the game's going to be coming from, and obviously the prevailing winds when I'm setting up a ground blind. You really kind of match those up together when you're looking at game trails, you're looking at old sign, you're looking at rubs, whatever it may be, so that you can put yourself in a position where the wind's going to be blowing into your face and the game's not going to literally step out from behind a bush right on top of you and catch you unaware. You want to be in a situation where you can peer up under the brush, where you can see them coming, and be prepared so that you can age them or judge them and determine if it's one you want to get in position to take a shot with.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Smoke that deer right there. You know, it's not really that far of a shot right there. But what a great last day of the year buck. That is a big, mature old 8-point. I think we actually saw that deer earlier this year come across the field. Whew, that's intense. When you get that many deer in here nice and close, what a cool way to end the year. I love to shoot mature deer. That, my friend, is mature deer. Yeah, that's exciting. Nope. He did not go far at all. Put the hammer on. This is an old deer right here. Right out of there. I'm gonna tell you, if I was a betting man, this deer here is probably going downhill considerably when you look at him. Even though we're pretty aggressive in our supplemental feeding programs down here, this guy has probably was a lot bigger 8-point at one time than what he was. I doubt that looking at his rack, he's ever a lot different than that. That is so cool.
Hey, we're not done yet. Wade finished out last year's season with that good old buck from the honey hole. But hunting season has come back around, and we're getting a sneak preview of Wade's bow hunt from the ground when the Whitetail Diaries returns.
Since 1996, Frog Togs outerwear have kept outdoorsmen warm and dry, even in the worst of conditions. Now, Frog Togs have expanded beyond hunting and fishing markets and revolutionized the industry with their patented fabric system. Frog Togs are extremely lightweight and portable. They pack easily in your car, boat, RV, and even on your motorcycle. Best of all, Frog Togs are 100% waterproof and windproof, and yet extremely breathable. Check us out online at frogtogs.com. Frog Togs, stop the rain.
Stealth Cam gives you the edge on the most elusive bucks. Capture high-res stills, HD audio and video, or time-lapse imagery. Nothing escapes our sub-1 second trigger with our advanced multi-zone detection grid. With our energy-efficient design, one set of batteries will last up to a full year. Retina low-light sensitivity captures stunning nighttime imagery out to 100 feet. Get all the latest technology in our new G series of scouting cameras. The next generation of Stealth Cam has arrived, delivering technologies you need every hunting season.
When you change the game, you make the rules. Introducing the all-new Vapor from 10 Point, the most technologically advanced crossbow ever created. 10 Point, there is no substitute.
After your next successful hog hunt, savor the flavor with a Bradley Smoker. They have a whole list of creative recipes dedicated to pork with a wide variety of delicious smoky wood flavors. Find out more about making your meal as memorable as the hunt at bradleysmoker.com.
Bubba Blade. The Bubba Blade is the ultimate sportsman's knife. For fishing...
One cutting you through, guys, kind of like butter.
Just like butter.
Hunting...
You can see her, just took that right off.
Camping, or just carving up meat at the barbecue. If you've got a sportsman in the family, they're going to want to have a Bubba Blade knife. The super sharp edge and the large patented handle that gets sticky when wet makes the Bubba Blade the perfect sportsman's knife. The handle protects your hands from the blade, and the trigger grip and thumb pads let you have total control of the knife. The Bubba Blade comes in different styles and sizes to fit the need of every sportsman. So whether it's for the boat, hunting, camping, or just for slicing meat at a barbecue, the Bubba Blade is the ultimate knife for the sportsman. Go online at BubbaBlade.com to order your Bubba Blade today.
When it comes to racing big deer, Purina is the leader in deer nutrition research. Our Antler Max research and development team is committed to developing products that provide results in your deer management program with a difference you can see. If you're ready to take your deer operation to the next level, look no further than Purina's new and improved Antler Max Premium Deer Feeds. You can find them at your local Purina retailer. Purina Antler Max Premium Deer Feed, a difference you can see. Welcome back to the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries with Wade Middleton. We're spilling many of our secrets on how to make your hunt successful from the ground, and now Wade is back out at the Wendlandt Ranch for a bow hunt at one of his favorite ground blinds.
When you start talking about ground blinds, a lot of guys use pop-ups, us included, but we also like to make a lot of brush blinds. And you can see here, this is a prime example of a good one right here, where we've used it and built it up, taken some 2x4s on the inside of it, ran some wire around, and really built a lot of cedar in and around the blind, and create small shooting holes. But also behind it, when you look in here, there's a lot of brush hung up behind it to kind of eliminate that skyline that a lot of times will happen. So not only pay attention to the front side, but pay attention to the back side. And when you look further at how this blind is set up, we've got a good bench to sit on, so it's real comfortable for both me and the camera guy. We've got a place to lay all of our gear out, from our binoculars, a rangefinder, and our Conquest scent dispenser, so that we just basically can sit in here nice and comfortably and don't have to worry about busting the deer. So when you start looking at building ground blinds where you don't have a way to get above, I mean, you can see there's just not a lot of big trees where we're hunting right here. Just create you some good holes, create some good vision behind it, and make it comfortable so that when you're sitting there, you're not spooking the deer. Scouting cameras, there's 2 or 3 good deer that have been showing up here. We haven't come and hit this spot yet, and it seems like so far this year it's pretty typical when you do an early season hunt, your first time in, that's when you've had your best encounter. So there's a big 8-point, a couple big 8-points really showing up on scouting camera, and if one of those guys shows up, hopefully we can try and get a shot.
Well, it wasn't long on his second morning in this setup when Wade pulled his Cabela's regulator bow back on an old, mature 8-point. Stay tuned to future episodes of the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries to see if Wade got his buck and find out what happened to this Cabela's Instinct Broadhead as we take a closer look at a mix of new Cabela's archery gear.
I mean, you talk about blood. That thing is absolutely covered in blood all the way through.
Hey, thanks for watching. Join us next week, won't you, for another exciting entry in the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries.
If you'd like to keep up with the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries crew, see some of the behind-the-scenes action, as well as be eligible to win some of the prizes, such as the gear we use in the field, it's simple. Go to our Facebook page and give us a like, and one lucky person each year will join us in the field for a great hunt. He's dead, right there. See. That was the big one that down there. Yeah, that's exciting. Smoked.